Good morning and welcome back to Withrow Urban Homestead. Today is April 22nd and it's time to winter sow our flowers, petunias. I'm going to be using two different kind of jugs. Both are water jugs from Walmart, but they changed their design, which is good because it's giving me two different experiences. We have the traditional white milk type jug. This is thinner, this plastic. It's easier to punch holes in and to cut open. And then we have a harder plastic. And this one requires a drill to put holes in the bottom. This is what my current Walmart is selling for water. And both of these will make a little mini greenhouse to hold in the warmth and the moisture to help the petunia seeds germinate. First, we need to fill them with potting soil, and any potting soil will do, but let me show you what I'm using. It's recommended to sow petunia seeds indoors under lights 8 to 10 weeks before your last frost, much earlier than it is now. But I wanted to see, can I winter sow petunias? I do expect them to be much smaller. And probably I won't be able to plant them out mid-May. They're probably going to take more time, but I still want to give it a try. So we're going to sow them in these little mini greenhouses, leave them out in the garden to germinate on their own. It's a week before our last frost, so I don't think they're going to germinate and then experience another freeze to kill them off. They are tiny seeds. So I'm just sprinkling them on top. And later I can thin them. These are a mixture of my own saved seeds and seeds I bought maybe 2 years ago. And you'll see some plant matter still in there, and that's because that's from my own saved seeds. Petunia seeds do need light to germinate, so I'm not going to cover them with soil. I'm just going to press them in and leave them. The soil's already wet, but I am going to moisten them with water. They need to germinate at temperatures of 75 to 80 degrees. So it's currently 68 degrees and sunny. Inside the little greenhouse dome, it's typically 20 degrees warmer than the outside air. So these should germinate. Now the petunias I germinate in the house in the furnace room under lights, they germinate in 7 to 14 days. Last year, mine germinated in 9 days. Outside, I don't know how long it's going to take. It's recommended to plant them out 2 to 4 weeks after your last freeze, but I've noticed here in North Central Maryland, people are already planting out their petunias, but they do need to be protected if we're going to have a frost. Sometimes our last frost is at the end of April, April 30th, so we still have 1 more week. You can winter sow your spring veggies and flowers in February because they can handle a freeze as long as it doesn't get too cold. But for warm weather veggies and flowers, you want to wait until April here in North Central Maryland. I'm following the Maryland Extension Office, their recommended schedule for winter sowing. Now here towards the end of April, it's kind of late to be winter sowing petunias, but they haven't been my priority, but I still want to give it a go. Honestly, most people just buy their petunia transplants. So petunias need light to germinate, but they also like to grow in full sun. I plan to grow them both. In the front garden, in full sun, where they'll do great, in the porch pots and in the ground, and they always do best in ground. But I also plant them along the side of the house, and that only gets 2 hours of sunlight every day. But they still grow and they still flower. They'll just be leggier. But both locations are pretty. They prefer to grow at temperatures 55 to 80. And in late summer, I'll give them all a haircut so they'll flower again. Now let's get this closed and taped up. I'm going to use this tape. We want to take off the lid and make sure you have drainage holes. You want moisture, rain to get in, and heat to escape. And we want to hold in the moisture and keep it nice and warm. I use Gorilla duct tape because it's nice and sticky. But the silver duct tape works fine too. It's going to stay out in the garden for a while. I assume at least a month. You want to make sure your tape is stuck on well. You don't want any gaps because moisture will escape. Getting the tape off can be a challenge, and I've learned instead of one long piece of tape, 2 shorter pieces works better. It's easier to tear them off when you open up your jugs. These white jugs, because they're thinner, they leave a gap easier. You want to make sure the tape is taped to both edges and that they meet evenly. Tomorrow, pick it up, and if it feels light, find the gap because it means the moisture is escaping and it's drying out. curious, since they need light to germinate, if the clear one is going to germinate quicker than the white one. I grew lettuce in both types of jugs, and yes, the lettuce in the clear jug germinated 2 days before the one in the white jug. It's always fun to learn something new. I'm an experienced gardener, but I'm still learning. I'm just going to leave them. And I'll come back and make sure they haven't dried out. But be careful adding water, because if you pour it in, it's going to leave a crater in the middle. Our other summer veggies and flowers have been sown, and most just 2 days ago. But the tomatoes have already germinated. It took 14 days. They've only been growing for 4 days now, so they're still little babies. But our spring veggies and flowers have all germinated, and now they're all hardening off. I think the ones along here are on day 4. They're going to be open for 8 hours, and next week we'll get them planted, but the lettuce already looks like it's ready. And these are the sunflowers that we're trying to germinate in pots outside. And this is what we're going to share with the community for free. I do it every year. It's my tradition. And yesterday I noticed they were starting to germinate. I need to keep my eye on them to make sure they don't get too hot today. But I don't think they're all up yet. We'll see. We might open them up today. And the veggies on the end and the flowers, they've been hardening off 6, 7 days. Anyway, they're ready to plant. But not today. We don't have enough time. The goal is to plant the red cabbage tomorrow. But we've already planted the kale and the onions, and they were both winter sown. I have a small urban garden. It's only 600 square feet, front and back. I use all of my property. I live in historic downtown in an old row house. So I only need a few plants. So what I don't use, I always share with my neighbors. I just bought these because I need to pot up the kale that was left over. And I have a shelf I need to set up today in the alley. I'm gonna do that next. Come back and see if winter sowing works for germinating petunias. Thank you for visiting Withrow Urban Homestead. See you later. Bye-bye.